Jared Corey Kushner, born January 10, 1981, is an American real estate investor and developer, publisher, and senior advisor to President Donald Trump. Together with Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and Chief Strategist Steve Bannon, he formed Trump's leadership team. Kushner is said to be President Trump's most trusted advisor, showing unwavering loyalty to his father-in-law. 3. He was principal owner of the real estate holding and development company Kushner Companies and of Observer Media, publisher of the weekly, online New York Observer. On January 9, 2017, Kushner was named to be a senior White House advisor to his father-in-law, President Donald Trump. As a result, Kushner resigned as CEO of his family's real estate company and as publisher of The Observer. 4. He also divested substantial assets. 5. Kushner is the elder son of American real estate developer Charles Kushner and is married to Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump. He was among the senior advisors to Trump's presidential campaign. Peter Thiel said if Trump was the CEO, Jared was effectively the chief operating officer. 6. Kushner played the largest role in developing and running Trump's digital media strategy. 789. In 2007, Kushner's father and CEO made the most expensive single-building property purchase in U.S. history, acquiring 666 Fifth Avenue for $1.8 billion. 10. In 2011, Kushner brought in Vornado Realty Trust as a 50% equity partner in the ownership of the building. 11. Jared's family's New York real estate company was in negotiations to sell a stake in its Fifth Avenue flagship skyscraper to a Chinese insurance company, according to the New York Times. The insurance company, called Anbang Insurance Group, has ties to families of the Communist Party, and the results of the deal could have potentially presented a conflict of interest. While Jared, senior advisor to Trump, would be helping to oversee American foreign policy, his family would have been receiving financial gains from a Chinese company. When asked about the deal, White House spokesman Sean Spicer said, Jared went through extraordinary lengths to comply with conflict of interest rules. White House spokeswoman Hope Hicks also said Jared had sold his interest in the building to a trust in which no one in his immediate family is a beneficiary. The New York Times also reported that a spokesman for Anbang said in a statement there was no agreement and there is no investment from Anbang for this deal. Now the New York Times has reported that the deal has fallen apart. Mr. Kushner had not yet stepped aside as chief executive of Kushner Companies, which was trying to attract investment for the company's crown jewel, an over-leveraged Manhattan office tower on Fifth Avenue. The company was in the midst of negotiations to redevelop the building with Anbang Insurance Group, a Chinese company with ties to the Beijing government. Senate investigators plan to ask Mr. Kushner if he discussed ways to secure additional financing for the building during his meeting with the Russian banker, a government official said. Ms. Hicks said that no such business was discussed at the half-hour session, during which Mr. Gorkov expressed a desire for an open dialogue. Nor did the issue of the American sanctions against Russian entities like Vnesheconombank arise, she added. It really wasn't much of a conversation, she said. Mr. Gorkov, in the statement, went further. He said that bank managers, as part of a new strategy for the institution, met with international financial institutions in Europe, Asia and America to talk about promising trends and sectors. He also met with representatives of business circles of the U.S., including with the head of Kushner Companies, Jared Kushner. And in an interview on the state-owned Rossiya 24 TV channel on December 29, the same month that he met with Mr. Kushner, Mr. Gorkov said he hoped that the situation caused by Ukraine sanctions imposed by the Americans against Russian banks like his would change for the better. The inquiry into Mr. Kushner's dealings with the ambassador and Mr. Gorkov may further complicate Mr. Trump's efforts to move past the Russia situation. Last week, the FBI director, James B. Comey, confirmed in testimony to Congress that his agency had begun a counterintelligence investigation into Russian interference and whether any associates of the president might have colluded with the Russian government. Mr. Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, has been under scrutiny in the FBI investigation because of his ties to pro-Russian politicians in Ukraine. In August, he was forced to step down as the chairman of Mr. Trump's campaign amid reports that his name emerged in a secret ledger in Ukraine listing off-the-books payments for consulting work he did for a Russian-backed government there. He has denied any wrongdoing and has said he never worked for the Russian government. Other Trump associates who have been drawn into the FBI investigation include Roger J. Stone Jr., a longtime Republican operative who has acknowledged contacts with Guccifer 2.0, the mysterious online figure that is believed to be a front for Russian intelligence officials, and Carter Page, a former foreign policy advisor to the campaign who has done extensive business in Russia. Both have denied doing anything unlawful. The Senate investigation is proceeding on a separate track from the FBI investigation while drawing on some of the same material, like routine electronic surveillance of the Russian ambassador and his embassy cohort. The committee chairman, Senator Richard M. Burr, Republican of North Carolina, has told the White House he plans to interview all Trump aides who had contact with Russian officials, according to White House officials. Depending on those interviews, some may be called upon to testify in closed-door sessions. Mr. Burr and Senator Mark Warner, a Virginia Democrat and the committee's vice chairman, said in a statement, Mr. Kushner has volunteered to be interviewed as part of the committee's investigation into the Russian activities surrounding the 2016 election. They added that their inquiry would follow the intelligence wherever it leads. The extent of Mr. Kushner's interactions with Mr. Kislyak caught some senior members of Mr. Trump's White House team off guard, in part because he did not mention them last month during a debate then consuming the White House, how to handle the disclosures about Mr. Flynn's interactions with the Russian ambassador. Ms. Hicks said that Mr. Trump had authorized Mr. Kushner to have meetings with foreign officials that he felt made sense, and to report back to him if those meetings produced anything of note. She said that because in Mr. Kushner's view the meetings were inconsequential, it did not occur to him to mention them to senior staff members earlier. There was nothing to get out in front of on this, she said. But in my own analysis, Jared Kushner will be running for president in the next coming years. Right now Mr. Kushner is getting familiarized with politics and getting allies from international countries in the process. This man is surely someone to keep an eye on.